Morning class, I'm Mary Carroll. Nice to see you again. I'll be posting every Monday to help you survive English 101, so please tell all your friends about it. Make sure you subscribe below and also enter some comments down below. Any requests you have, specific questions, I'll be happy to answer them as I keep posting. I'll also talk to you in the chat boxes, okay? So let's get started. Today's lesson is paragraph structure. Now, I looked up on WordTracker, which is a search engine optimization tool for words that people look up, in their searches on Google. And do you know that how many sentences are in a paragraph is used 40,000 times a month? This is how worried all of you out there are about how long your paragraphs are supposed to be. Now, when I was teaching high school English, I got that question all the time, and it was a little bit of a frustration for me to continue getting the question. So here is the definitive answer. And I know you want me to say 5 sentences, but that isn't the answer. The answer is the number of sentences that belong in a paragraph is entirely up to you. Now, I'm going to show you something. The number of sentences in a paragraph has a lot to do with the conventions of the day. I'm showing you a photocopy of a book. It was published in 1790. And in those days, the convention was for very, very long, convoluted sentences and very long paragraphs. I'm going to show you how long these paragraphs are. Okay? All right, here's on page 2. There's a paragraph that starts right there about in the middle of the page, and it goes all the way down to the bottom. The top of the next page are 7 more lines, so that's about how long or how deep 7 lines is. So this paragraph is actually about this long. It takes up about 3/4 of the length of the page. So here's the next page. There's the rest of the paragraph before. And look at the next paragraph starts here. Gads! Goes all the way down to the bottom of the page. Now, my point in showing you this is this was the convention in 1790. The convention these days, and this is 2020, is to have much shorter paragraphs, okay? So how short is short? I'm going to show you one more example here. Look at this. The entire page is a paragraph, yeah. So you don't need to do that. Whew! They don't have to be that long. Nevertheless, as I was saying before, the convention these days is to have paragraphs much shorter. Whew, good news. But that doesn't mean the ideas that you're going to be putting down on paper are going to change. All right, the point is that paragraphs are nothing more than a bucket for you to put your ideas in. That's all they are. They're buckets of categories. How much you put in the bucket is up to you. All right, but now that doesn't mean your paragraphs can be messy and you can just put anything you want in them. That's not the case. So I've got an example here. Let's say that you're on a beach. You are collecting seashells. Now I want to tell you, I looked up and the latest knowledge is please don't go to seashores and collect seashells. It is better for the environment if you leave them in place. Okay, but let's say you're walking along the shore and you're looking at the seashells and you're going to collect them for a while to look at them, and at the end of the day you're going to put them all back. All right, but we've got a bucket here and we're just walking along and filling them up, thinking, wow, that's a pretty one. Oh, this is a pretty one. Before you know it, ooh, it's getting pretty full. And you think, darn it, I've got way too many here, okay? So you got too many shells, and you think, I got to start dividing them up, all right? So here's what you decide to do. You start to take shells out of this bucket and move them into all the other buckets. So this is bucket number 1, and you decide you're going to leave the scallops in bucket number 1, okay? And then in bucket number 2, bucket number 2, you decide I'll put the limpets in here. All right, so you got limpets in bucket number 2, and then in bucket number 3, you decide, I got enough cockle shells for a bucket, So let's put cockle shells in number 3, okay? And then you think, oh shoot, I found some snails. So then you decide, well, I guess I'll start a paragraph about snails. Sorry about this yellow. You can't read it very well, can you? All right. Now, the snails, you think, wow, there's lots about snails. I could even divide that into even another bucket where I've got, let's do this, snails. These are mud snails. And in bucket number 4, or paragraph number 4, you're going to talk about garden snails. Okay. And that's it. Now, you could go on and on and on talking about snails for as long as you want, writing about snails, getting all your information about snails down in nice, neat paragraphs, which you can think of as buckets. How long will each bucket or paragraph be? Well, it depends on you. Depends on how much you want to say about them and how much you know to say about them. Will the paragraphs maybe be different lengths? I hope so. It's really easier on the reader if your paragraphs vary in length. So let's say after you divided all these shells up, turns out you have the least amount to say about scallops. So, okay, well maybe you only had about 4 sentences in there. But then you move on, limpets. Oh my gosh, you went wild on limpets, and you've got 6 sentences here because you got so much to say about limpets, and you found so many examples and so on. Then you go on to cockle shells, and you think, well, I kind of have some more to say, but it's not as much as limpets. Maybe I only have about 4 sentences worth. That's fine. This paragraph will be 4 sentences, okay? Then you move on to the snails. Well, really, you got tons to say about snails, so much that you had to divide it into 2 paragraphs, one for mud, one for garden. Okay, so maybe you got 6 sentences about mud snails, and then in your next bucket, maybe you got 7 sentences about garden snails, all right? You can keep going on like this for as long as you want to write about snails and shells. My point is that there is no rule about how many sentences need to go in a paragraph. It comes down to you and your ideas and you using your noodle, okay? Think through what you have to say. Organize them into little classifications, little paragraphs. Think of them as buckets if you want. You're just going to keep piling them up until you finish your paper, all right? That's really all there is to it. I'm sorry to disappoint you if you wanted a definitive answer, but there is no definitive answer for how many sentences you should put in your paragraph, all right? Now, I have this infographic that you can get from me. If you ask me in the comments below, I will tell you where you can go to get this infographic. This is a nice reminder of what I told you. Tomorrow's lesson, I'm going to start a series on verb tenses. Woohoo, verb tenses. I know that sounds really dull, but you need to pay attention to this. I will do a different tense in each video so that you can skip around and just look at the ones you need to look at, okay? Well, okay, everybody, happy writing. Now you know what to do with paragraphs. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.